What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This is season 5, episode 13. And let me just say this, Greg. Let me just say this. If you would have told me that Salt Lake City would be like the best Real Housewives show we have out right now, I would have told y'all you lying and you gassing it. The show, like, it's not even that good, because I can't believe I went from thinking this was like one of the like lamest versions of Real Housewives to being like, oh no, girl, they eating. They really, this season has been so entertaining. And it seems like every single episode gets better. And I'm just enjoying the ride, okay? Like, if I would have had to put it in order for me, I would say Salt Lake City and OC, top 2. And Salt Lake City is number 1. Then 3 would be Dubai for me. Then Potomac. Then New Jersey. And then dead last is New York. I don't know. They're going to have to shake that up or something. We're going to have to get some more entertaining characters, all right? But they are having a great season. Salt Lake City is eating right now. But let's get into the video. So y'all know sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I got a few things I want to talk to you guys about. So first up, let's talk about Angie. So Angie posted this to her Instagram, I think either the day of this episode or the day after. She said this: when you find yourself in a room surrounded by your enemies, you should tell yourself, I'm not locked in here with them. They are locked in here with me. Start sassing and you'll get the hair assassin. Season 5, high and low body count confessional. And it was funny because some people felt like she ate it up. Other people feel like Angie is trying too hard and they not feeling her. But I kind of thought it was funny. So let's talk about Watch What Happens Live. So Brittany and Heather were on Watch What Happens Live after this week's episode. And I know I talked about, the Kerastase treatment. Lisa said, girl, you do need a Kerastase treatment, Thermacate. Well, Brittany was asked by Andy, are we looking at a Kerastase treatment, because she had like a different hairstyle. And this is what she had to say.
Are we looking at the result of a Kerastase hair treatment?
We are. And
we are? You got it.
I did, and there's a partnership in the making.
Oh, really?
We're doing classy high body count. What do you think?
Is that an oxymoron?
No.
Yes. No, it is. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
You can be classy and have a high body count.
You can be a good girl and look like you have high body count. It's just making good girls feel sexy.
There you go. By the way, I have high body count and I'm dressed like a librarian.
So, here's the thing. If Brittany really got a bag off of the Kerastase Thermacate comment, I know Lisa gonna feel some type of way, because she's the one that introduced that into the situation, which I found hilarious. She said, don't let her hurt your feelings, but you do need some Kerastase Thermacate. I said, Lisa, this lady is in distress, and you telling her, yeah, girl, your hair look dry. You need a protein treatment, okay? But if Brittany really is getting a bag off of this, like she got an endorsement deal, girl, a win is a win in my eyes. You might have felt like you got shamed, but hey, girl, you got a bag. You got a bag. A win is a win, okay? So the next clip that I thought was interesting was a viewer's question. So these two ladies called in and they basically pressed Heather about her comment about Brittany. And I forgot to bring this up on one of my Spicy's Corners, but I saw it on the after show. It was a clip that was kind of getting circulated in the Housewives community, where Heather basically told Meredith she kind of felt bad and felt like she shouldn't have brought Brittany to the group. Like, it gave more so that she was like embarrassed and ashamed that Brittany was a part of the group. So these two callers were like, well, Brittany, how did you feel about Heather saying she felt like she shouldn't have brought you into this group? So let me play that.
Felt like after show that she regretted bringing you into this group.
Oh, it hurt. It hurt a little bit. I
fully regret it.
I wanted to ask you about that. We haven't had a chance to chat.
I think there was a moment where I
You're together
worried.
now.
Yeah, I worried because it's like, a lamb before some wolves.
To the slaughter.
Zero
You brought me-
regrets.
Okay, good. I hope. Thank you.
Zero regrets.
You're redeeming yourself.
Sounds
Thank
like you had some
zero
regrets
regrets.
when you taped that after show.
Yeah, Heather.
I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. It hurt my feelings for a hot second,
I
but
don't remember even doing
but-
it. That's kind of me, though.
I know how much you love me, and I know I love you, and we were all good the second I heard.
So I don't believe Heather. I think Heather said what she said because she was embarrassed. Because I think that after show was where she said she shouldn't have brought Brittany to the show was after Brittany did the Breakfast at Tiffany's, where she was like, "What about me?" Or I think it was either after Brittany was crying at Angie and Sean's anniversary party. Either way, I just think Heather said it because she was embarrassed by Brittany, but it seems like they were able to move forward. On Watch What Happens Live, Andy was playing this game with Heather, and one of the questions was like, you had to pick between housewives, and it was Angie and it was Lisa, and it was like who had the most to answer for at the reunion, and Heather said it was Lisa. So let's talk about the reunion. So Kathy Hilton had a holiday party, and I think DirecTV was sponsoring it because there were two clips that came out that pretty much confirmed that Lisa and Bronwyn did not make amends. So the first clip I saw was Lisa saying that the person was like, who gets a lump of coal after the reunion? And Lisa said, you'll be surprised that I don't feel like Whitney should get a lump of coal. So that made me think either it was Angie or it was Bronwyn. And then Bronwyn came out and let it be known that her and Lisa aren't really in a good place after the reunion. So I'm going to play both clips back to back.
You just filmed the reunion. Who is still on the naughty list following that reunion?
Reunions are interesting because you go into them hoping for resolve, and I feel like there might be bigger problems coming out of it, and some things got resolved.
Did you give any of them coal after this reunion?
Yeah, there's one for sure I would give Cole.
Is it Whitney?
It's not Whitney.
It's not Whitney.
Not Whitney.
And just wrapped. What can you tease?
I went into it wanting resolution. I felt like it was my first season, watching myself back. There were lots of things I was unhappy with myself about or felt like I could work on. So I went in with that mindset, and I think some other people did and some did not. So that was a recipe for disaster.
Did you personally make amends with anyone?
I did, yes. Not everybody I wanted to, but with some. And I feel like that's kind of how that goes, yeah.
Definitely. Where do you and Lisa Barlow stand now?
Lisa and I will probably not chat tonight. If I see her from afar, I wish her well. Merry Christmas, baby Gorge. But maybe I'll mail her that. I don't know if we need to say it in person.
She's performing tonight. Are you going to be supporting from the sideline?
Honestly, Lisa sings beautifully. Whether I like Lisa or not, Lisa sings beautifully. So good for her.
You're such a good sport. You have such a good outlook and attitude.
So it definitely looks like Bronwyn and Lisa weren't able to make amends, which kind of sucks because I thought they were going to be able to mend fences and move forward. But it definitely feels like Bronwyn has picked a side, and she is siding with Angie, Mary, and Whitney. She posted this picture of the three of them at Kathy Hilton's holiday party. So it definitely looks like the four of them are still cool and close after the reunion. And the last thing is Miss Jen Shah. I'm wondering if the girl is going to be on this show, because when I tell you they keep reducing this lady's sentence, they keep reducing it. So this was posted by No Smoke No More, and it says Jen Shah's sentencing is reduced again. According to the Federal Bureau of Prison Records viewed by the U.S. Sun, Jen Shah is now set to be released on November the 19th, 2027. Her previous release date was December the 19th, 2027. She was previously scheduled to be released on on August the 30th, 2028, and her original release date was in 2029. It is unclear why Jen's release dates was bumped up a month, though in the past her sentence was reduced due to her good behavior behind bars. Sources: The Sun. I don't know what she doing in jail. She must be an angel for them to keep reducing her sentences, because this is crazy. But I saw a lot of people be like, so does that mean she gonna be on the next season of Salt Lake City? I said, girl, no. I don't think they want Jen back, just like they don't want Monica back. But who knows? A lot of weird things have been happening here lately, and maybe it could happen. But let's get into this review. Right, y'all. So let's talk about it. So the episode opens up and we have Meredith at her house, and she has these different scents that she wants everyone to smell to see which fragrance she wants to put in her bath bombs. And so you see Brooke smelling them and you see Chloe smell them. And then Seth comes into the kitchen and he's like, okay, this is cute and I see what y'all are doing, but girl, give me tea. Why you kick Angie out of the bat mitzvah? And so Meredith explains that after Brooks came to her telling her that Brittany was crying, and when she went to Brittany and Brittany explained that what happened between her and Angie, she was like, Angie had to go, because she was like, you're slut shaming somebody at a religious event where it's supposed to be about peace and harmony. Like, yeah, get out. And then Meredith says in her confessional, she was like, I don't know why Angie is like this, but Angie is very mean and she can be very nasty and she likes to tear people down. So then we flash over to Angie and Sean's house, and so they're in the kitchen. They end up sitting at the kitchen table, and she is upset. We get a new confessional from Angie. It's giving very much mafioso, very much Godfather, although I wish the outfit was a lot more tailored to her body. Angie got nice titties. We see that she bought those titties, but like sometimes titties be messing up the ensemble, so I wish it was a little more, sucked in a little bit, pulled in a little bit. But in the confessional, she actually is getting emotional, where she says she hasn't stopped crying from being kicked out of the event because she was mortified. She was like, you basically cussed me out, and then you kicked me out in front of people like your children, Heather's daughter, who I know, everybody in the like people in the community. And then it was so nasty of you to do that. And so she ends up being like, I don't even know how I'm going to be when I go to Puerto Vallarta. Like, if me and her going to be cool. And Sean is like, don't worry about her. Like, maybe y'all have an opportunity to speak to each other, but like, just don't even, you know what I'm saying? Don't even let her get you riled up. So then it goes back to Meredith's house, where Chloe ends up saying she was taken aback by Sean yelling at Meredith, being like, Meredith, you haven't heard both sides. Like, you need to listen to both sides. And so Meredith was like, I don't need to listen to nothing. All I know is Angie is always coming at people. She's slut shaming. And she was like, and I was very much triggered by what she did to Brittany. Also, I'm still harboring some type of feelings because she already made fun of my impairment when they were at the Girl Scout thing, when Angie told Bronwyn, put on Meredith's hearing aids and turn them up. And then Meredith was like, wow, so now we're making fun of people's disabilities, their impairments. Now, here's the thing. Was Angie wrong for that comment? Yes, like I said in my review, she shouldn't have said that. That crossed the line. Even though it was funny as hell, it was still wrong and it could be deemed offensive. But I also feel like Meredith is putting 20 on 10 because I have a disability. I never saw me having to wear glasses as a disability until I started following a lot of disability like activists and like commentators. And one of them I like to follow, her name is like Crutches and Spice. Her real name is Imani, but like her name that she goes by on social media is Crutches and Spice. And she did a video about glasses where she was like, you can't see without your glasses. You need assistance. That's a disability. And I was like, dang, I just never thought about it that way until she explained that the reason why people don't see wearing glasses as a disability is because glasses are so accessible to everybody. Like, you can go to CVS and get glasses. You can go to Walmart and get fitted for glasses, or go to like Costco or Sam's Club. Like, glasses are like, people can get glasses if they need them. There's so many like outreach programs to help people. Like, anytime I want to go get a new pair of frames off online, I always go to, I think it's called Lion Gate, where you can drop off and they'll donate glasses. They'll check the prescription on the glasses, and they'll give them to people that can't afford them for free. And I was like, dang, I never saw it as that. So I understand where Meredith is like making fun of my impairment, but I'm like, Meredith, yeah, girl, you just don't like Angie. Like, I get being offended by it, but to hold on to it like that, it's like Whitney said, girl, you be holding grudges. And sometimes you got to let them go, because the back and forth with you and Angie is not going in your favor anymore, because people just feel like you dragging it. I'm one of those people, but I do understand. So the next scene we see is of Mary going to hang out with Angie at her house. I don't know how Angie lives with those big open windows. Like, I'm paranoid, okay? Like, her house reminds me of that new horror movie that came out called The Watcher. Like, her windows are too big, and it doesn't seem like she has any like blinds or any types of curtains. Like, that would freak me out. That, like, if I came downstairs to get something to eat at night, like, someone was just looking at me. I can't do it. So Mary gets to Angie's house. She knocks on the door, but Angie doesn't like hear her. So I was like, Angie ain't got no security system, no Ring camera, no nothing, you know? And so you see Mary just come into the house because the door is unlocked. Angie has no survival skills, because Mary was sitting down on her couch and she didn't even notice her. And I guess it must be like a level, like where she's up higher than her, because Mary turns around and says, hey, and Angie's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, girl, you would have got kidnapped if that was somebody in your house trying to take your goodies. And so, Angie ends up giving Mary, like, you know, the charcuterie board. Like, she was like, oh, I was trying to make things nice before you got here. And Mary's like, girl, it's cute. It's a nice, like, assortment, but I'm not even hungry. But she was like, well, do you want to drink something? So she pulls out champagne, and they were struggling with the bottle. I always struggle with champagne, but I'm always scared that, like, when the pop, like, I don't know. It's kind of like when you hear balloons pop, it does something. And so they're struggling to open up the champagne bottle. We saw them struggling in a flashback, but this time they were able to fix it. And so, you know, they're pouring the champagne, and then Angie's like, so how you been? And Mary looking at her like, girl, not great. Not great. And so Angie's like, what's wrong? And she's like, you know how I told you I always wanted to be a mom that knew what was going on with their kid, like my kid. Because she was like, my mom wasn't that way. She wasn't very, like, she was about herself. Like, she didn't care about me and my siblings. She really wasn't looking out for us like that. And I started noticing things with Robert Jr. where I was just like, he acting funny. So I finally sat down with him and asked him what's going on. And you can tell that Angie's getting, like, anxious, because she's just kind of, like, straightening up her back, and she's looking at Mary like, girl, what you about to tell me? And so Mary just ends up being like, well, girl, I sat down with him and I asked him, like, what's wrong? And girl, did he tell me what was wrong? Next thing you know, he telling me he doing heroin, he doing oxy, he doing ecstasy, he doing everything. And Angie's like, oh my God, for real? And she's like, yeah, she's just like, here I am struggling at the fact that I have a child that's struggling with addiction. Never would I thought that would have been me. Like, what did I do wrong? And Angie ends up being like, well, Mary, it could happen to anybody. And Mary's like, but it's happening to me. And so she starts to get real emotional. She's just like, you know, he told me that he wanted to take his life, that he felt like a stain. And I'm like, what did I do for you to feel that way? Like, well, like, I struggled for 4 years. Like, it took me 4 years to get you here. So it sounds like Mary was having fertility issues. And when you finally got here, I was like, you're a gift from God. Like, are you serious? So Angie's trying to comfort her, holding her hand. She's crying. We then see Mary, like, break down in the confessional. I mean, she was breaking down. Like, you knew it was real when she was crumpling them tissues. And I said, that's why Candace always had the cry angle. Because she was in that confessional being like, I want to help. Like my son is coming to me for help, and I'm going to help him. And she's just like, she was like, I need help. Like, I don't have anybody to turn to. Like, I don't have a mom I can speak about this. I don't have a grandmother I can talk about, like someone that could tell me which way I should go. Like, I'm flying solo. And I don't think she's negating her husband, because I've seen Mary in like recent interviews and even on Watch What Happens Live, where she was like, Robert Sr. was involved trying to talk to Robert Jr. And she was like, she needed him because he also had struggles with, I guess, or he used to dibble and dabble in drug use back in the day. And I don't know if he struggled with it, but I think it's just like sometimes you just need an outlet that's not your spouse. And it's also nice to lean on to older people who have been parents who you can rely on. And I felt so bad for Mary when she was just like, I don't have that. Like, she was like, I don't have a grandmother. I don't have a mother. And we know Mary was really close to her grandmother. You know about the whole thing with the Robert Sr. and all of that stuff. But she seemed to have like a very strong relationship with her. And then she passed away. And then we know she doesn't really, like, she is no contact with her mom. And I did see the interview that the mom did with Up and Adam. And like I said in the comments, all I could say is it was interesting, but it was very telling because it seemed like they wanted to really expose Mary, but in doing so, they exposed themselves. And the reason partly why Mary probably don't want to deal with them people, because something about that lady ain't right either. And to hear that, like, you know, when she was growing up as a child, her mom was more invested in like running in the streets and like caring about herself than her kids. So it's understandable. But I did feel bad for Mary. So then Mary ends up telling Angie, this is between you and me. Like, don't tell none of them women what's going on with me and my kid. And Angie's like, no, I got you. She also brings up like how she struggled with her mom. She was just like, I used to feel the same way. Like, why is my mom not getting clean for me? Like, what am I doing to make her choose alcohol? But she said at the end of the day, addiction is a disease. And like, you being able to look at it that way allows you to forgive yourself and forgive the person that is going through the addiction. And so Angie and her like embrace. Mary is basically very grateful for her relationship with Angie, but it's actually like surprising how much they have grown versus what we saw last season, that now it's to the point where Mary is really confiding in Angie about something very serious. But Mary ends up saying that she is going to be on the trip, but she going to make sure her son is okay before she go to Mexico. So we then get this scene of all the girls getting ready, packing for the trip and heading to the airport. Everybody makes it to the airport except Mary. We find out she's coming the next day. So they get there. Heather's in her confessional basically saying, girl, I'm good with almost everybody. I'm going on this trip with no beef. I'm in the clear right about now. And so as everyone is walking to, I guess, TSA, or they got past TSA, you see Angie end up telling Brittany, oh, your hair looks good today. Brittany doesn't even, like, she's like, oh, thank you, or something like that. Like, I said, Brittany, that lady broke you down so bad that you were crying, like sobbing. You look like you were in distress. And you respond to that like, oh, thank you. Girl, if I was Brittany, I'd have told Angie, kiss the blackest part of my ass, lady. Like, you tore me down so bad and embarrassed me to the point that I was in tears. Do not speak to me, bitch. Get away from me. Okay. I said, she better than me. So then Heather starts to explain who got beef. So she's like, Whitney and Lisa don't like each other. Angie and Meredith got issues, and Brittany and Angie got issues. And, you know, I'm just here. And so is Bronwyn at this point. So they're like cuddling before they get onto the plane. You see Bronwyn be like, hey, I got gifts for everybody. And then you hear Lisa be like, oh, you didn't have to do that. We find out in a flashback that Lisa and Bronwyn were on the phone together. Bronwyn told Lisa that she was thinking about bringing gifts for the trip. And Lisa was like, no, you don't have to do that. Just bring yourself. I got the gifts. So then Lisa in her confessional is like, it's silly me to think Bronwyn would listen to me. The only person she listens to is Todd. And so she ends up gifting everybody these bedazzled passport books, like covers to put over your passport. And they were nice. I probably would have just went for the black one. Like, I like pink, I like silver, I like red. But I feel like when you travel, you're supposed to be like inconspicuous. Like, you know, don't draw a lot of attention to yourself. And pulling out a bedazzled pink passport is a lot, or a red one is a lot to me. The black one looked the nicest and the cleanest. And so I kind of felt two ways of this. On one hand, I was like, okay, it's a nice gesture from Bronwyn. But also I was like, are you doing this to buy your way back into the good graces of some of the people in the group? Because let's be honest, Bronwyn is not in, she burned her bridges. Like, she burned the bridge with Angie and Whitney. Her and Lisa's relationship has been up and down. Her and Heather ain't really been on the right path since episode like 2, basically, or 3. she don't really have a relationship with Mary or Meredith. Like, we have yet to see her have like a one-on-one with Meredith or with Mary. The only time we saw Mary and Bronwyn bond was at the beginning of the season on episode 1 with the fashions, and they were like going off on Brittany for saying that Bronwyn's jacket was a costume, and then she don't like Brittany. So it was kind of like, what was the reason of you giving these people these gifts? Like, yeah, I can say that it was nice, but it also feels like you're trying to smooth things over with everybody. So, and I get where Lisa's coming from. Like, girl, I told you not to, and you did it anyway, and I'm the hostess, and I would kind of feel like you were trying to step on my toes and try to take over my trip if I was Lisa, because I told you not to do it. So then I think Lisa ends up asking Bronwyn, well, how are you feeling? Like, how do you feel? And everyone's like, what do you mean? And so Bronwyn reveals that she got attacked by a dog. She ends up showing like her arm, and I guess no one noticed because she had sleeves on, but I was like, how did y'all not notice the back of this lady's thigh? When I tell you, it looks like she caught a zombie virus. Like, I'm not lying. It looks like something from Resident Evil, okay? Like, she is infected, and in about a good 30 minutes, she gonna start trying to eat everybody's brain. I don't, for flesh, I don't know. Like, I was like, girl. And everyone's like, oh my gosh. Like, everyone's shocked. And so we find out that Bronwyn was at a dog park. There was a dog that was off leash running around, and the owner was in the car not really paying attention to the dog. And then I also read a People magazine article where they said that she had 37 puncture wounds. Okay. And Bronwyn, the only thing in that article where I was like, where Bronwyn messed up is she approached the animal. I'm someone who loves animals. Like, that's what I got my degrees in. Like, and on top of that, like, I've handled a lot of animals, from farm animals to like companion animals like gerbils, ferrets, dogs, cats, snakes, tarantulas, geckos. Yeah. I've been around cows, goats, horses. Like, I really enjoy being around animals. But I've always been taught that, like, there is ways you approach every single animal that you are trying to, like, touch or be around. And when it comes to dogs, I always stress to people, you never approach a dog. You let the dog approach you. As well as, if you want to pet an animal and they have an owner, you ask before you touch it, because you don't know that animal's temperament. And in the People magazine article, Bronwyn said that she approached the dog. She should have kind of known what was up, because the dog jumped back, but then the dog started circling her, and then it attacked her, and they couldn't get it off of her until the owner came. And when I tell you, I hope Bronwyn and Todd sue the hell out the person, because how irresponsible of you to have your dog just running wild in a dog park without you like watching it or being in the actual park to make sure that animal doesn't attack or harm any person or animal that's in there. Like, you deserve to be put on a list where you can't have animals anymore if you're going to be that irresponsible. Like, the way her arm and leg look, like, Bronwyn is lucky she didn't get a severe infection, or she didn't get mauled to death, because those are some serious wounds, okay? So Brittany ends up being like, well, Chanel makes everything better. How are you feeling? And she's like, I feel a little bit better. I feel a little bit okay. But yeah, it was pretty scary. So we see them board the plane. And so they make it to Puerto Vallarta. It's beautiful. They're getting on the Sprinter. Heather takes it upon herself to admit to the fact that she missed the toilet while trying to pee in the airport, like not the airport, but the plane bathroom, because Lisa was like, oh my God, the bathroom was so nasty on the plane. And Heather's like, that was me. It was turbulence. When I tell you, certain people will admit to things that I'm like, girl, take that to your grave. Like, I just, it's certain things that I would not want to be out there on the internet streets, or like for people to know about me, where I'm like, I will take that to my grave. Something like that, take it, because it's just nasty, lady. It's nasty. So they get to the resort, and there's 2 villas. The villas are identical. I think the best part of the villa was their deck area. Oh my gosh, I'd have been out there all day. The pool looked cool, and it was just so big. It looked so like relaxing. And so Lisa basically tells everybody their room assignment. So basically there's 2 villas. They're right next to each other. Remember that. You have Meredith, Heather, Lisa, and Brittany in Villa 1. And in Villa 2 is Bronwyn, Angie, Whitney, and Meredith. Bronwyn is in her feelings and visibly irritated. And basically, Bronwyn feels like this is Lisa's way of trying to put her in her place and basically force her to like grovel back to her. And Bronwyn says in her confessional, like, I want to laugh and have a good time, but like, I'm really pissed off. And honestly, Lisa thinks I'm going to grovel back to her, but she's going to have to do that for me. Like, I'm really pissed right now. And I'm like, girl, it's not that deep. It really isn't that deep. But I will say this. Do I think Lisa was being passive aggressive? Yeah. And was she being shady? Yeah. But was her reasoning for why she did what she did logical? Yeah, it was. Just because it's shady, passive aggressive, and petty don't mean it wasn't logical. Because when she was like, Whitney and me don't get along. Whitney and Meredith don't get along. So me and Meredith are going to room together with each other. Brittany is not cool with Angie. She's not cool with, Brittany's not cool with Angie, Bronwyn, or Meredith. So why would I put her over there with them? Whitney is like the only person that Brittany has, but Whitney would do better with the four of those ladies. So it only makes sense why Brittany would be over here with us. And I was like, you know what? When you put it that way, it makes sense. I think the only other person that could be exchanged out would be Heather. But Heather and Angie have been at odds. Heather and Mary have been at odds. And Heather and Whitney have been at odds. So even though Heather really doesn't have any like beef with them like that, it still makes sense why she would be in the villa with Meredith, Lisa, and Brittany. And Brittany's her friend. So I was just kind of like, Bronwyn, is it shady? Yes, but do it make sense? Yes, it's not our fault you burned your bridges. You know? So we then see in the other villa, Angie go to Whitney's room, and she was just checking up on her, like, do you like your room? She's like, oh yeah, it's nice. And so she sits on the bed, and she was just like, so what do you make of Bronwyn being over here with us? And Whitney is like, well, you know, she probably feels some type of way because she's not with the cool girls. And Whitney says, I call them the mean girls. I said, girl, all of y'all are mean girls. Like, let's call a thing a thing. All of y'all can be very nasty and petty to each other. And I hate that whole thing about mean girls, antics, or stuff like that. Girl, you being a bitch. Just call it what it is. You're being mean, you're being nasty. Like the whole like, oh, she's being a mean girl. No, she's being a bitch because she don't like you. Just be an adult and call it what it is. I just feel like when it comes to Housewives, the whole like, she's being a mean girl, she's being such a bully. It's like, use adult words sometimes. It gets annoying and redundant at times. And so Angie ends up saying, like, if I were them, I wouldn't want Bronwyn in my villa either after what she did to us. Like, I would be side-eyeing her too. Like, she can't really be trusted. So then Bronwyn comes in trying to make small talk because she's feeling awkward, and she sits down on the bed, and she's just kind of like, they end up asking her, so how do you feel about, you know, not being with Lisa? And Bronwyn's like, you know, I really do feel some type of way because here I am. I'm the closest to Lisa. I've known Lisa for 10 years. That's the person who I'm closest with. And she puts me over here and not with her, especially after she knows what I'm going through with my daughter, Gwen. So we see a flashback. I think it's like a week before the vacation. And it's a sit down with Bronwyn, John, and Lisa. And we get more information about how John was adopted. And he was like, Lisa thought it was going to be like this Hollywood story where like my mom was going to be so happy to see me. It was going to be something. Now it makes sense why Lisa made that comment about, you know, John's mom being like some lady from Arizona, because we find out that when John met his mom, she basically said, after I gave you up for adoption, I didn't want anything to do with you. So I kind of take back being like seeing side-eyeing what Lisa said about the lady. Cause like, if you being nasty to my husband, girl, it's F you. Especially being nasty to somebody I love. And Lisa loved her some John, and John loved him some Lisa. So he ends up saying Bronwyn ends up asking him, like, if you could do it all over again, would you do it over again? Like finding your birth mom and all of that stuff. And John said, nah, I wouldn't. So Bronwyn just feels like, you know where I'm at and how I'm struggling with that. Like, why wouldn't you want to make sure that I'm with you to be like, I'm okay? And so then Whitney ends up being like, that's what Bronwyn get. You threw us under the bus to get close to Heather and Angie, and now you up a creek without a paddle because now you need to grovel back to us because we're your real friends. And I was like, are y'all really her real friends, or are y'all just trying to be cool with her to have an alliance against Lisa? But either way, Bronwyn is pressed like a panini because she was like, I don't even know what they're doing over there with Brittany because I don't even know how Lisa and Brittany got so close all of a sudden. Like, are they making friendship tattoos? And you just see Whitney smiling at Bronwyn, like kind of smirking like, yeah, girl, that's what you get. We told you. You got played. You played yourself. The scene we see is of Meredith and Lisa in their villa talking. And Meredith ends up asking Lisa, so, like, are you excited? Are you happy we're here? And she's like, yeah, I love Puerto Vallarta. This is where Vida Tequila is made. So then Meredith ends up asking Lisa, so how are you in Bronwyn? And Lisa ends up mimicking Bronwyn, and she sounded just like her, where she was just like, we're like in a weird space because she was like, I kind of feel some type of way because I told Bronwyn not to bring a gift and she brought one anyway. And so Meredith was like, oh, do you feel like she was stepping on your toes? And Lisa never said she felt that way, but she definitely was like, it was just weird because I told you not to do something and you did it anyway. So then Lisa I think she made a decent point where Bronwyn be talking to Lisa kind of like with bass in her voice, okay? And we'll talk about that situation that they had. But Lisa basically says in her confessional, like, if I don't move a certain way, Bronwyn got a problem. If I don't speak up for her or defend her a certain way, she got a problem. And she says I don't listen to her, but she don't listen to me because I told her not to bring a gift and you brought one anyway. And I'm just kind of annoyed with her at this point. So then Lisa ends up asking Meredith about Angie, and she was like, you know what, I'm just kind of over Angie. She's not very nice. She always takes everything too far. She slut shames people. She talks about people's impairments. I'm really just not featuring her. And so Lisa was like, well, hopefully Angie, like, you know, she needs to be on her best behavior on this trip. And Meredith's like, she really does. So then we see, because they call him a butler, but I feel like that could be demeaning to some people. So I'm going to call him the house manager. So we see the house manager in Meredith's room while she's getting ready for dinner, and she has a bag, and she asks him, can he take the bag and place it in a seat when they get to dinner? And he's like, okay, I got you. So we find out that Meredith is going to give Angie back the gift that she brought to the bar mitzvah for her. And we find out that the gift is the brand Kermesse. Is it Kermesse? Kermesse? I can't even say the word. Kermesse Thermacay. I think that's how you say it. The brand, y'all know what I'm talking about. She has like salon-sized bottles that she gifted towards Meredith. And I think Angie said on the after show that the bottles were like $200, which I believe because that brand is pretty high price. And so and we see in the flashback, Meredith had Chloe read out like the ingredients and they had sulfates in them. And Meredith was like, see, like she didn't even really think about this gift because I have keratin in my hair. Everyone knows that. I said, Meredith, don't nobody give a F-U-C-K about you having keratin in your hair, girl. Either you like the gift or you don't. And don't do that, lady. And so Meredith is going to give the gift back, which I find to be stupid because she got 2 industrial-sized bottles of this high-end hair product. On top of that, Angie gifted her what's it called? A journal, and it looked like a nice journal. It was like nicely booked and bound, and I'm just kind of like, girl, what happened to re-gifting gifts? There's been gifts that people have given me that I have given to other people, and we went on about our day. So I just think it's kind of like you trying to make a moment where, like, if you was smarter, you just would have kept it. I would have kept it and called it a day. Unless Angie would have been like, I want it back, and then I would have gave it back. But whatever. So we see the girls get into, like, these trams to get driven to where they're supposed to go. I laughed when Lisa was like, can we turn on the air condition? And Angie said, like, Lisa, there's no doors. You're going to feel the air soon. So they get to the bar. They have margaritas made for everybody, and it was made with Vida Tequila. One thing I will give Lisa is when I tell you she plugs Vida Tequila, I've never had it. I heard some people say that it's good, and I heard people say it's not their cup of tea. But hey, she gonna market it and she gonna get them sales up because I know Bravo fans are buying the drink just to taste the liquor to see if it's good or not. So while they're at the bar waiting to be seated for their dinner, Brittany decides she wants to make like a toast, and everyone just kind of looking at her like, here we go with another toast. Like nobody really cares about her toast. Lisa even says in her confessional, like, Brittany needs to start making toasts because don't nobody care or making these announcements for us. Like we don't really like, girl, stop making announcements. And they flash back to when she made that announcement at the Harley Davidson about her and Jared no longer being together. When she made that announcement when they were at the ropes course about Jared making it official by posting her on Instagram. it's just like, girl, don't nobody care. And the sad thing about it is like this announcement that she was making about her being able to like be in the good graces of one of her daughters, where the little girl came over, they were able to talk to each other, they actually like sat down, and she slept over her house, and they've been estranged for a while. Like, that was a great announcement, but you kind of sullied your announcements because they've been really stupid up until this point. But also, I guess the other ladies are like, girl, great. That's what you're supposed to do. You're a mom. But hey, Brittany felt some type of way. Like, she was like really hurt. Like, she was like, for me to give you guys this announcement and nobody give me nothing. Wow, guys, that hurts. That really hurts. They move away from the bar and they sit down on these chairs or these benches beside the bar. And Lisa ends up asking everyone, so how do you guys like your rooms? Is everything okay? And everyone, for the most part, is like, no, I love them. Like, you did a really good job. So then Bronwyn was like, oh, I'm going to be the contrarian and say this. And Heather makes a face like, what's about to happen? And even Whitney and Angie kind of look at each other like, oh, it's about to go down. So Bronwyn basically tells Lisa, I don't understand why you didn't put me in the villa with you when you know I've known you for 10 years. I've known you the longest. I'm the closest to you. And so Lisa ends up saying like, well, I thought it would be better, like, you not talking to these two. And she's pointing to Angie and Whitney. And Bronwyn was like, no, we're good. We work things out. So then Lisa's like, what's the issue? And so Brittany, and I'll give Brittany this. Brittany would have been me in this situation. I'm not moving my room because you upset. And she kept saying, I'm not moving because I know where I'm staying. Like, and Bronwyn ends up saying, I'm not saying this to make you move rooms. And Brittany was like, and I know because I'm not moving a room. But then I'm looking at Bronwyn, why bring this up if you don't want her to move? Like, are you just going to complain that you're not in a room with, like, you're not in a villa with her? And even Heather said, like, girl, we're not sleeping in the same rooms. Like, there's separate rooms and the villas are exactly the same. And so Brittany keeps chiming in. Bronwyn keeps getting frustrated. Whitney ends up saying in her confessional, Brittany doesn't understand that she's a pawn, because Brittany ends up telling Bronwyn, maybe she just likes me more than you right about now. But I do think Brittany knows that she's a pawn. I think Brittany is trying to get her lick back at Bronwyn for telling Angie what she said at the bat mitzvah, which I don't fault Brittany for trying to get her lick back on Bronwyn. Like, girl, you started that whole mess of this lady reading me my rights. Yeah, I'm going to pick at you. It is what it is. So then Lisa ends up being like, I thought it would be fine. And Bronwyn ends up being like, I wanted to be with you. I wanted to be near you. Like, I don't get why you don't see that. And Lisa's like, other than us, like, you pooping, peeing, like, and going to sleep, girl, we are around each other. Like, the villas are right next to each other. The rooms should be connected, honestly, because they're right near one another. And Bronwyn is like, Lisa, you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. And then she ends up telling Lisa, don't put that bass in your voice. And I was like, Lisa had no bass in her voice. And this, to me, is where Bronwyn starts to lose me. Is because Bronwyn do be talking to Lisa kind of crazy. Like, you already told that lady, I should ride your dick till the cows come home if I don't defend you. You got on her when y'all were in Milwaukee about her not defending you. Now you're mad at her about the rooms. And like I said, do I think Lisa is being passive aggressive? Yes, but it's not that deep. You making yourself look pressed as hell over a room assignment. Like, it'd be different if the room was lousy and it was small and confined, but you have a nice sized room. And like Lisa said, the only time we're not together is when we sleeping or pooping or peeing. It's not that deep. And then to tell that girl, she get the bass out your voice. When I tell you, had it been me, I'd have cussed Bronwyn out and told her, girl, don't you ever talk to me like that, bitch. We're not that close. I've known you for 10 years, and in them 10 years, if I ain't never gave you that type of fever, you don't give me that type of fever either. Okay? So Bronwyn is getting in her feelings and getting upset and like really frustrated. She then is like, something about, like, she ends up saying that you think I'm just should be grateful that I'm on a Lisa Barlow trip. And Lisa ends up saying, like, no, at the extravagant trips you go on, I don't think I could ever make you be that grateful for something that I give you. So then Bronwyn interprets Lisa saying that as her being snobby. And if I was Lisa, I'd have been like, did I call you a snob? No. So, and if you interpret it that way, that's on you, sis, because that wasn't what I said. I just said, girl, you go on trips more lavish than this, and you probably it wouldn't compare to what you got going on. If you interpret that as being a snob, then that's on you. So Bronwyn is upset, and Lisa is like, girl, I don't get what you're mad about. I don't understand. So then Bronwyn is just like, she's pissed, and she basically feels like Lisa has all these preconceived notions about me, and in the past 10 years, like, I just couldn't fathom her being this way towards me. Girl, Bronwyn, you looking lame. You looking lame, right? Like, you making an issue where there really is no issue. Like, it really isn't an issue. It just gives, and I feel like the girls be making Lisa's head big. When they tell Lisa that she's entitled and she's self-absorbed, she has a reason to be, because y'all kiss the ring every time. And y'all always tell her how y'all want to be friends with her. And she don't change. Lisa, like I keep saying, Lisa has been the same since season 1. And y'all just want to be near the head cheerleader in charge. So Heather chimes in and she tells Bronwyn, what can Lisa do to make you feel better? Like, what can we do to rectify the situation? So then Whitney chimes in and she said, just say I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. And then Lisa did something that I would do too. I'm not apologizing, especially if I don't feel like I did something wrong. Like, F you and your feelings, lady. like, because like I said, is it passive aggressive? Is it petty? Yes. But like, girl, it's not that deep for you to be yelling at me and then telling me to get the bass out my voice. Yeah, you're not getting an apology from me. You not. And so Lisa ends up saying, I'm going to say things the way I want to say them. And so the fight was about to continue on, but then the bartender was like, ladies, your table ready. I need y'all to get out my section. I'm ready to go home. So as they're walking to the restaurant, Lisa and Bronwyn are still arguing back and forth about the argument in front of the hostess. She trying to smile like, like, can y'all just go sit down? Finally sit down at the dinner table. Bronwyn and Lisa are still going back and forth. But what breaks it up is Angie sees Brooks Marks, like, because Brooks has a fashion line called Brooks Marks. And so it was a bag. And so she was like, did you get me a gift, Lisa? And Lisa was like, no, I ain't get you no gift. And so she sits down and she looks in it and she makes a face. And then you see Meredith. Meredith is excited for the moment to happen. And then she looks at it, pulls out the shampoo and the notebook. And she's like, really, Meredith? And Meredith's like, well, you said you wanted the gift bag. And Angie's like, I didn't say that I wanted the gift bag. So then they're going back and forth on whether or not Angie yelled that she wanted the gift bag. Heather ends up saying this sounds really familiar when Angie and Meredith were going back and forth at the Breakfast at Tiffany's event. And pretty much Meredith likes to play in semantics, because I was like, that lady didn't tell you to bring the gift back. You wanted to have like a Kim Richards moment when Kim gave Lisa Rinna back the bunny, but this is not that, and you didn't eat it, girl. And so they start arguing, and then Brittany jumps in and was like, I would have did the same thing. I would have gave you the gift back too. And Angie's like, Brittany, ain't nobody talking to you. Shut up. And Brittany's like, no, well, I'm the reason you got kicked out because you called me a slut. And so Angie's like, I did not call you a slut. And she was like, yes, you did. And then Meredith's like, you definitely did. So then they start arguing about like who called who a slut first. I said, this is a mess. This is a mess. And so I think Meredith ends up being like, you called her that first. You basically said that like she was sleeping, like Brittany ends up saying you said it first because you insinuated that I slept with 15 guys. And then Meredith was like, it wasn't 15. She said 3. And they go back to Breakfast at Tiffany's when Angie was like, you're doing 3 guys and stuff like that. And so they're like, you started it. And Angie's like, no, I did not start it. Like Angie's like, Brittany is the one that said she was doing 3 guys. I just repeated what she said. So they start arguing, and then Angie gets so upset that like she throws or like she tries to drop the gift bag that had the shampoo bottle and the notebook in it, and it falls on the table. And everyone's just kind of like, Angie. And I think Angie gonna have to chill out on that stuff. Like, you are prone to getting up. You stand up and point. Like you've done it multiple times this season. You did it at the Harley Davidson thing. You kicked back your chair. You did it at Mary's house. house when Mary was like about to kick both you and Meredith out the house, where you were yelling like you threw the napkin. Like, you gotta chill, Angie. Like, this needs to be the last season where you throw in stuff, because honestly, had you been on a different franchise, somebody might have picked up that bottle and popped you in the head with it. Like, New Jersey, they whopping people. Atlanta, Potomac, hell, even Miami, or I don't know, Dubai, they can't fight. But I could definitely see, like, New Jersey, Miami, Potomac, or Atlanta, you throwing something at somebody that heavy, and you don't know, it could have broke glass, it could have hit her in the face. I can see someone picking that up and hitting you in the face with it. And Brittany is like, what the heck, Brittany? Like, are you serious? Not Brittany, but she was like, what the heck, Angie? Like, are you serious? And Angie was like, I gently threw. I said, no, girl, you dropped it on her. And it was kind of like a flinging motion. And you know how heavy the bag is, because she was like, well, I didn't know it was turned over. No, girl, you wanted to make a moment. You just miscalculated. And you got to chill on that, Angie, because you're going to do it to the wrong person and they going to pop you. So then Brittany ends up being like, you said I had porn star tits. Now, some people online said that was a compliment, but I'm going to be honest. Some porn stars have very ugly titties to me. Like, they look hard. Okay, just rocks, you know? And then there's some that actually are natural and they look pretty, or they went to a good doctor and got realistic implants. So I don't know if I would take that as a compliment or not, you know? And so they're arguing. We then end up seeing Carlos, who is their waiter, get there. He like, buenos dias, buenas noches, buenas noches. I felt so bad for that man, because you could tell he's like, if y'all don't just order so I can give you your food so I can get back to my house and kick my feet up, you do it too much. You do it too much. Order drinks and food. And in the moment Carlos leaves the table, they get to arguing back and forth about the titties, about the slutty comment. And so Bronwyn's on the side being like, that's not how it went. And Lisa ends up being like, well, you did bring up the whole, like, she dated 3 guys. So then Angie tells Lisa, don't do that. Don't defend her. Like, this is not the time for that. And Lisa's like, pause. I have defended you the most out of anybody at this table. And she's not wrong, because Lisa was riding hard for Angie last season. And so Lisa ends up doing, why can't we just deal in facts? Why can't we just be honest? I said, okay, Lisa. So then Meredith starts yelling too. And then Bronwyn in her confessional ends up saying that Brittany was the one that started it. But honestly, to me, Bronwyn is the reason why this fight is even happening, because if you wouldn't have ran back and told, told Angie what Brittany said, because you didn't even include yourself, where you somewhat agreed with it and called that lady Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So she ends up saying that Brittany started it with, you know, the comment. And honestly, I don't think that Brittany was trying to slut shame Angie. She was just trying to say, like, her, and this is the thing, I feel like they making it more than what it needed to be, because saying that you're doing 3 guys to me isn't like shock and horror. And maybe it's because I am like 3 generations away from them, because they all in their like 50s and 40s and stuff like that. And so I just feel like it wasn't that deep. But I understand in their community, it's, you know, you can't be throwing that out there. Everybody's supposed to be pure as snow, okay? So they start arguing, and then Angie ends up telling Brittany, like, look, I don't need you to be in this anymore. Like, can you just let me and Meredith talk to each other one-on-one? And so Angie ends up saying, I was hurt that you kicked me out of that event. Like, why did, like I was there to support you. And so I think Meredith ends up being like, well, why did you come? And I'm like, girl, because 1, you invited her, and 2, she want to get a check for filming. But that's when Angie is like, because I wanted to support you. I wanted to, like, forge a path forward, and it really hurt my feelings that you kicked me out. So then Meredith ends up saying that she is sorry, like, she didn't mean to, like, hurt Angie in that way, and she wants to move forward. Before they got to the part where Meredith and Angie were able to, like, come to some resolution, everybody kind of clocked Brittany, where they were like, well, Brittany, you the one that keeps going out here telling us how many guys you do it. And then they go back to the night of, like, the camp, you know, Wednesday night Bible study, where she was trying to lie on Angie and say, well, Angie said that I was, like, effing 10 guys, or one of the guys that gave me a gift that I was sleeping with him, and Heather was there, and Heather was like, I don't remember that. She was like, I do remember we were standing there and I asked you which person sent you these flowers, and you said boyfriend number, like guy number 1. And then we were like, girl, for real? And then Angie pulled Brittany to the side and was like, does your dad know that you doing 3 guys? And she's like, well, yeah, he's dating 8 girls, like 8 other women. And she was like, who do you think I got it from? So then Brittany ends up being like, I feel like we shouldn't be shaming anybody, whether they want to be celibate or anything like that. Like, you having sex, as long as they're being safe, we shouldn't be shaming. And I do agree with that. But then, like, everybody else kind of clocked Brittany. You're saying that you're not sleeping, because Brittany was like, I'm not sleeping with Jared, or she's not sleeping with one of them. But we're like, well, girl, he bought you crotchless underwear. You're sleeping with somebody. If they feel that comfortable to give you crotchless panties or lingerie, I say, yeah, Brittany, that's cap. That's all the way cap. But that really was the episode. Yeah, y'all, that was the end. Okay. So I'm still enjoying the ride of Salt Lake City. I can't wait until we get to that one episode where Lisa stands up and it looks like she about to punch Whitney in the face, because I want to know why she did all of that. Plus, I want to see the episode where, what's her name? Angie starts throwing food at Lisa. And like I said, Angie, this need to be the last season you start throwing things at people or getting up, because I feel like you're going to reach into a territory where you might not be able to really come back from, and you might get in serious trouble for, because throwing them things across the table, that was too much, sis. That was too, like, if that was just too much, Angie. But I'm also like, I'm glad I kept my side eye on Bronwyn. Everybody tried to tell me I was crazy, but no, I be knowing. I know sometimes with people. Like, am I a great judge of character? Not always, but I peep something with Bronwyn, because I don't like the way that Bronwyn talks to Brittany. Now, do I think Brittany is delusional, pick me bird heifer? Yes. But the way that Bronwyn comes at Brittany, it's like, you can say that everyone else is being mean towards you, and you can cry about people all ganging up on you, but you don't think the things that you do to Brittany, where you keep picking at that lady, is a bit much. But I feel like Bronwyn has an issue with Brittany, because Brittany clocked Bronwyn when they were in that Harley Davidson museum about her marriage to Todd. And I don't think Bronwyn has ever seen it for Brittany after that. And I said, well, if she got you, she got you. Because I think the comment about the costume wasn't that deep, and for Bronwyn to be that mad at Brittany to have these feelings. But yeah, y'all, that's just where I'm at. But as always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe if you like the video. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.